Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on QuarkXPress 2025. Specifically, going to be talking about Quarky and how that relates to AI, font pairing, style groups, and we're going to throw in a little quick access bar because you really can't talk about Quarky unless you're comfortable with that quick access bar. Before I get started, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Kevin Siegel. I started IconLogic, which is a training, publishing, and development company about 35 years ago. I'm a certified master trainer, certified online training professional, certified technical trainer, and when I'm not teaching full time, I write books. And I've written a whole bunch of books on all kinds of tools, including books on QuarkXPress going back many, many years. I've also written books about Adobe Captivate, TechSmith Camtasia, Articulate Storyline, Articulate Rise. And I was in the Coast Guard several decades ago. Two favorite duty stations when I was in, Kodiak, Alaska, and Governor's Island, New York. When I talk about books, here are some of them. And you can see front and center my QuarkXPress 2025 book. You can find that book on resellers such as Amazon.com. Let's talk about what you're going to learn during this session. I mentioned the quick access bar. It was introduced in QuarkXPress 2025, and it's been enhanced with Quarky and AI. So I want to show that to you. We're definitely going to cover Quarky because I'm super excited about it. And specifically, I'm going to leverage Quarky to put content into a layout. Check my grammar because I am famous for my typos. And probably my favorite thing about Quarky and AI is translations. I get a lot of requests to have my content translated to multiple languages. And it can be very difficult, very expensive, very daunting. Anyone who's worked with XLift knows what I'm talking about. This translation feature has really got me thinking. And along the way, we'll talk about font pairing and style groups. I got to tell you, if asked to name my favorite QuarkXPress 2025 feature, I jump all over Quarky. But then, style groups. When you see it, it just might make you a believer. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you how to get in touch with me now before we end the session because, in all the excitement, that's the kind of thing that gets forgotten. So my email is ksiegel@iconlogic.com. I got a blog.iconlogic.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'd invite you to come on over and connect with me. When I post content to LinkedIn or to my blog, here's one thing I can promise you. It's never information such as I had the world's greatest hamburger. Come and join me at Bob's Burger Barn. I figure you don't want to hear any of that stuff from me. When I'm posting stuff on my blog, it's about QuarkXPress, it's about e-learning, it's about technology, it's about publishing because that content's right in my wheelhouse. So come join me. And I'd like to tell you that I've got a whole bunch of slides coming up where I'm going to lecture to you about the origins of AI, the genesis of font pairing and style groups. But no, I have no slides for you. This is going to be an active live demonstration. So I say, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to switch over to QuarkXPress. And I did mention I was in the Coast Guard, so it does seem quite appropriate that I've got a layout here about the Coast Guard. Now, I will also tell you that is not me jumping out of that perfectly good helicopter, or in Coast Guard speak, that helo. But I do love the photograph. It reminds me of my time in. And I'm just kind of scrolling through this document. And I've arrived here at page number 2. And there's a couple of things I'm going to leverage Quarky for right now. I would like Quarky to create some content for me about a very specific Coast Guard cutter called the Healy. I'm going to click in this box right here. I've already set that up in advance, of course. And I'm going to change my view to 200%. So you can really see up close and personal inside that box. In case you're not familiar with it, I'm dragging the page right now without switching to the tool that would allow me to scroll around the page, the pan tool. I'm using the Alt key on my keyboard, and I'm just dragging the page around. It's one of my favorite ways to navigate around a QuarkXPress layout. Do you notice this panel right here? It's kind of following me around like a little puppy. As I scroll around the page, that panel's like moving around. Look at that. See that? Well, that's the quick access bar. And I'm going to close it. And I'm going to bring it back so you know how to do that. And that's through the window menu. And I'll scroll down to the quick access bar. I've really come to love this quick access bar because it gives me real quick access to some common tools that I tend to need all the time. And just as an example, I'm going to use the text content tool to draw a quick box here. And I'm going to type hello. I'll move this box over so you can see it a little bit better. And when I double click the word hello, you can see that the quick access bar allows me to quickly change my font, change my font size, that kind of thing. Now I'm going to get rid of that box. On my keyboard, I'm pressing Command K. Command K to delete an object. Now, I tend to think of that keyboard shortcut. Maybe it's just me, but it makes it easy to memorize it. Command K for kill it. Now the box is gone. Now I'm going to go over and draw a picture box, like so. And I wanted you to note that the quick access bar, in addition to following you around appropriately so it's at your fingertips, changes dynamically dependent upon whether or not you're working with text content or picture content. So I really like that. And you'll notice here that the quick access bar now has some very common picture formatting tools. Now you see the dots here over on the right. Those are options. I'm going to click that and I'm going to choose preferences. Now from within the preferences, you can decide which tools appear on the quick access bar, just as an example. If I don't want import and I don't want picture links, I'll just remove them. I can also reorganize how things appear on the quick access bar simply by dragging items up or down. You see that? I'm going to press cancel. I'll leave the defaults. And I'll kill this picture box right here. That was Command K. And now I'm going to use Quarky, which is on that quick access bar, to add some content about that Coast Guard cutter. Remember the Healy. So I'm going to click on the text box. And again, there's my quick access bar doing its thing. Then I'm going to go to this little icon over on the left. That's Quarky. And I'll click. And just so you're comfortable with what Quarky can do, Quarky will help you create content, suggest titles for content that you might have, create a summary of the content that you select, paraphrase the content that you have, correct your grammar. Boy, do I need that, and I'm going to demonstrate it. And there's that translation feature. So I'm going to click Generate Content. Now I'm being prompted to specify a topic, and this is where you would use natural language search to create a prompt. Now, one thing I do want to call attention to, in case any of you have used ChatGPT as an example for AI, and if you have, then you've probably fallen in love with it, but there is just a little bit of a concern when I query AI for content, or I put my Pulitzer Prize winning content into AI and I tell AI, hey, check this for grammar. And then what happens to my content? Well, that OpenAI is taking your content and aggregating it with everything it gets from everybody else And now your content's out there in the ether. You truly have no idea how your content is going to be used by others who are using AI to create content. So here's something that I love about what Quark has done with Quarky. The prompts that you add into this box right here are not stored or shared with anyone, stored anywhere. You can rest assured that your content isn't going to someone else's sandbox where they can play with it. So I love that. Now I'm going to tell Quarky here to write about the Coast Guard cutter Healy, period. Keep it to approximately 100 words. Now, the more specific your prompts are in any AI situation, the better your content is going to be. You could even specify in your prompt that this is for children, this is informal, make it funny, and see what AI and Quarky will do for you. I think you'll be amazed at the response that you get back. I'm going to go ahead and click this green check mark, and Quarky is doing its thing. So there's my content. You'll notice that there is a hashtag in there. Those are express tags, and that hashtag will come in handy later when I'm working with style groups and font pairing. But right now, just note that the tags are going to be included. And if you're not planning on doing font pairing or style groups, you can just edit out the tags. You don't have to use them. Now I'm going to click Insert. And I'll close Quarky. Are you impressed with the content that just got added? Because you know what? I am. And this content is actually accurate. Which brings me to another point about AI. I think you ought to take the attitude, don't trust AI as far as you can throw it. So you really have to fact check anything you see given to you by any source, including AI, because AI could introduce bias, errors in fact, assumptions, could completely get it wrong. And just to give you an example, I'm an expert on articulate storyline, and I asked AI, not Quarky, but AI, so ChatGPT, to create a 25 multiple choice exam on articulate storyline. I wanted to see how well it would do. And the questions and the answers that came back, by and large, were very good. But I would say about 20% of the content that I got back was completely made up and wrong. Had nothing to do with the software called Storyline at all. So be on your toes. Another thing, I recently wrote a book about copyright and training materials because that's a big thing in my world. You create training materials and you grab some content off the internet. Well, you're setting yourself up for copyright infringement, and there's heavy penalties. You don't want to do that. So just food for thought. I'm not talking about copyright here. I'm talking about content that you've added through AI, specifically Quarky, that content can never be copyrighted. So if you've got this wonderful passage here, you can't copyright it because you didn't write it, and copyright can only be obtained by a human, not AI. So food for thought on that. Now I'm going to select all the text in this document. So I just press Command A. And I'm going to come over to my style sheets. And this particular document is not using style groups. You'll see that later. And I'm going to choose captions left. And I've just formatted my text that came in from Quarky. Now I'm going to get rid of this headline here. I'll get rid of the asterisks. Those are tags. And I'm going to highlight the text, and I'm going to go back to Quarky, and I'm going to ask Quarky to suggest a title. It's working on it. And there's my headline. I like it. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to paste it. Now, I could have also just clicked insert before, but I wanted to show you that you can copy and paste into other documents if you want to. So I'll close Quarky. I'll click at the beginning of my text. I'll paste. That's Command V. And there's my headline. I love every bit of that. Want to be more impressed? I know you do. I'm going to highlight the text here that Quarky created for me, right? And I'm going to go to my quick access bar, and I'm going to go to Quarky, and I'm going to tell it to translate. And I'm going to tell it to translate to Spanish, and I'm going to go ahead and click the Done button. Habla Español, anyone? Because look at that. I'm going to replace the text with my Spanish. I'll close Quarky. Anyone speak Spanish wants to read over this and confirm that is in fact Spanish? I don't know about you, but I'm super impressed. I'm going to undo that. Command Z. I'm going to try this again. Maybe that was too easy. I'll go to translate, and I'm going to change it from Spanish to Hebrew. There's no way this is going to work. Come on. Oh, how awesome is that? I'll replace. I'll close Quarky. I'll undo again. I mean, come on. What's that you say? You're not French? Okay. All right. Let's go back to Quarky. Translate. French. Done. Let Quarky do its thing. We just got to get out of the way, right? Replace. Close Quarky. Just got to put a smile on your face, right? That's just so good. I'm going to undo. And I am going to apply a heading style to my headline. So I'll click on the headline. And over on my Style Sheets window, I'm going to click Main Headline. I'm going to click Facts Headline. You get the idea. Really easy to format your document if you've got styles already set up. And again, coming up, I'm going to show you style groups, which I think are just epic. Now let's talk about grammar. So I'm going to scroll over in my document here to this paragraph right here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it. There's a couple of problems. First of all, were should be was. So if you look at the document, that's supposed to be was. The young federal government was to provide. So there's an error. The word federalize is here. That's supposed to be federalized. And the word there should be there. So not they are, but there. So I want to see what Quarky can do about this. So I'm highlighting the text, going back to my quick access bar and clicking Quarky. Let me pull it up here a little bit. I'm going to click Quarky, and I'm going to choose correct grammar. Let Quarky do its thing. I'll replace. I'll close Quarky here. And just to review, the word were is now was. This is now federalized. I honestly didn't think that Quarky would get that one, but no problem. And they are is there. that kind of thing. And Quarky fixed some other things as well, but that's good enough to kind of point out the power of this grammar checker in Quarky. Before I leave AI and move on to font pairing and style groups, I do want to make sure that you're aware that to get access to Quarky, you do need to have a subscription to QuarkXPress 2025. Although AI is available as a trial if you want to test it out. And you can control the AI features of QuarkXPress by going to your preferences. Now, on a Macintosh, that's the QuarkXPress menu, Settings. On a PC, that's the Edit menu, Preferences. And from your preferences, you would click AI Management. And if you don't want to use Quarky or you don't want to use font pairing, simply turn them off here. Also, if you click the AI usage button, you'll get some information about how much of your, and I'm using air quotes here, allowance you have used as you've worked with font pairing and Quarky. Now you can see that there are 7,200 pages left for me to use. If you're trying to determine, well, how much is that? I mean, how much AI do I still have available to me? That translates to millions of characters. So I don't think that most of us are going to run out of our AI allowance for any subscription year. If you feel like you're a heavy user and you're going to run out of allowance, then certainly get in touch with your rep over at Quark and have a discussion and see what they can work out for you. From my perspective, there's more available to me for an allowance than I think I'm going to burn up if I try. I'll click OK. I'll press cancel. Now let's dive into font pairing and style groups. So I'm going to make a brand new QuarkXPress project. Just Command N on your keyboard. I'm not all that concerned about the size of the document. I'm not going to use all of it. I have in my clipboard that same Coast Guard Cutter Healy text that Quarky created for me. And this is the original text, and you'll notice the hashtag up there by the Coast Guard Cutter Healy text. That's going to designate that as a headline level 1. Now I want to take advantage of font pairing. Basically, using Google fonts, you're going to have QuarkXPress recommend some fonts for you and then assign them in your project and then make style groups. And I just find the style groups just so awesome. So to use the font pairing, I'm going to go to my window menu and I'm going to choose Font Manager. And as I scroll through, I'm looking for one that it really jumps out at me. This one right here. I'll go for this one. And do you notice there's an FP icon with this selection? Now, QuarkXPress is recommending in that font pairing area, Arial Rounded for my heading 1s. Heading 2 is using the PT Serif Regular. And my body, you can see what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to click Save. And I'm being asked right away, well, do you want to make a style group out of this? And I'm thinking, yeah, I do. So I'm going to type option 1. Now, I find style groups to be really compelling if you're working with a stakeholder or a client and they're not quite sure which fonts they want to go with. And here you are in a traditional QuarkXPress document editing your style sheets. You do use style sheets, right? Of course you do. You're editing your heading 1s, your heading 2, your body. Client's still not convinced, so you say, okay, let me get back to you. You go back and you edit your styles again, the heading 1, the heading 2, and that's not difficult, but boy, is that taking time. Wouldn't you love to do a screen share with the client and say, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you like this? That's what style groups are going to let you do. So I'm going to click OK. The fonts are being downloaded. I did tell you they were Google fonts. And if you look over at my style sheets, I can see that option 1 has now been added to my style sheets, and if I open up the option 1 group, I can see it consists of heading 1 through heading 6 and a paragraph style. Now that's cool all by itself. But what's this icon doing? This icon's actually going to assign that group to the text. I'm just going to click on the apply icon. I'm being asked about style sheet names not matching. I'm going to ignore that. I'm just going to click yes. Whoa, are you kidding me? Look what QuarkXPress did for me. It assigned the styles based on those tags. I can see now what it's going to look like if I decide to go with that font pairing, or if my client decides they're going to go with that one. Oh, but I'm not done. Let's go back to the font manager. And I'm going to pick something very different like this one. I'll click the FP for font pairing. Now I do want you to note, after the font pairing process is complete, I am being recommended to use this font for the H1s and this font's for the H2. If you decide that you prefer to use this font for your H1s, all you have to do is drag the font up and down in that font pairing list. And you see that QuarkXPress is pretty flexible. It'll do whatever you want. It doesn't care. So I'm now going to leave it as the default, and I'm going to click Save. And I'm going to name this style group Option 2. Remember, I'm working with a customer who can't quite decide which groups of fonts and sizes and colors are going to go with. I'll click OK. Over on the Style window, notice I've now got Option 1 and Option 2. Same style names, but different fonts and sizes, etc. I'll click the Apply button, and shazam, everything changes. The world will never be the same, I'm telling you. What's that you say? Your client wants to take a look at the Option 1 again? Okay. It's like when you go to the eye doctor and they do the little thing where they say 1 or 2, 2 or 1. You know what? Honestly, I can never tell the difference. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and click the apply icon here. And option 2, the apply icon. Option 1, the apply icon. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Because you can come over here to your font manager and just do this again and again and again. So I'm going to scroll down and get this one. I'm going to make an option 3. You know why? Because I can. Because it's so fast. Because it's so easy. I'll click Save. I'll call it option 3. If we had enough time, I'd go option 22. I'll click OK. I actually don't know if there's a limit to how many of these groups you can have. I'll close the font manager. And now I've got my third option here. Boom. My second option. Boom. My first option. Boom. All right, folks, we've had a quick trip now into some awesome features in QuarkXPress 2025. Specifically, we talked about the quick access bar. I love that and hope you utilize it as much as you can, which led directly and elegantly, if I do say so myself, into Quarky. And specifically with Quarky, we talked about having Quarky add content for us, having Quarky grammar check for us, having Quarky suggest titles for us, and then how epic was it when we had Quarky convert that content to Spanish, to Hebrew, to French. Could have kept going, but we're going to run out of time here, right? And then we move right on over to font pairing, where QuarkXPress curates some fonts for us, download it from the Google Fonts, and then at the same time is making these style groups, which are going to make moving between one layout idea to another just a snap. Hope you all enjoyed this session. Again, my name is Kevin Siegel, ksiegel at iconlogic.com. Do reach out to me if you have any questions at all.